Have you ever heard that saying, you are the people you surround yourself with? What's up, guys? Marshall here, and on today's episode of the Serial Progress Seeker podcast, we're going to dig deep into that thought. Really, what we're digging for is a real examination of those people that we put around us, why we put them there, and then the ways that we can actually leverage those relationships so that we're our absolute best selves. So think about your crew. Think about your squad, think about your partners in crime, and then think about what role they actually play in your life. That's where we're about to really dig in. Welcome to episode 97 of the Serial Progress Seeker podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Serial Progress Seeker podcast, where we share blueprints for building an unconventional life. Each week, we conduct expert interviews, talk strategies, and share advice for escaping the 9-to-5 and building a life where you are free to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, all while making an excellent living. Okay, Serial Progress Seekers, let's get started with the show.
What's going on, guys? I'm super pumped for today. This is going to be a really, really fun discussion. We've had some off-camera discussion about this particular topic, so much so that we were like, listen, we gotta talk about this on the podcast because it's going to be a really, really good one. And what we're going to talk about is the people that we surround ourselves with, right? That's so important. And sometimes I think maybe we lose sight of really assessing the people that we're putting around us and the reason we keep them around us. And so that's what we're going to kind of focus on today. We're going to discuss how we can all, individually become happier and healthier human beings just by surrounding ourselves with certain kinds of people. And then kind of taking this cool idea that we actually found online and assigning purposeful labels to those people that we surround ourselves with. So really pumped for us to talk about this. So often we just like to kind of categorize people that come in our lives. Okay, they're friends, their family, their acquaintances, their coworkers, like they fall into those labels. But when we start to kind of think on the next level and start to think about, what can we do to assign a label to this person that gives them a deeper connection with me and a deeper meaning in my own personal life. And Ben, you even talked about it off camera. Like, sometimes we just got to be selfish when it comes to this kind of thing. And I think this is a really, really good discussion for us to have. Now, as we start assigning labels to the people that we keep around us, I want to make sure that we clear the air right now and say, we're not trying to use the people that we're putting around us, right? This isn't about using them. It's about literally establishing a deeper connection with them. And so as we started kind of getting into this conversation, what we're going to talk about today is thinking about those people that we keep in our lives and the reason we keep them in our lives and the reason we assign the labels that we do to get those connections. We actually came up with a fun acronym. We came up with the themes team. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we jump into the themes team, before we kind of kick off this conversation, I want to turn it over to you guys. Tell me a little bit about what it means to you to be able to surround yourself with the right kinds of people to be able to advance yourself personally, professionally, whatever it may be.
Um, I think the category that a lot of people put me in, and it's not in the themes, is I'm the person that will systemize stuff that nobody else systemizes. I have to put things into boxes so that I can understand them. And I'm sure that there is a psychological issue that I have that causes me to want to do that. But we've turned it into an entire business, right? I think that's the thing. There's so often, in our lives, we accidentally fall into these patterns that are either cause us to be successful or not successful. That either cause us to have great friendships or have really toxic friendships. And, I think that one of the big things that we can do with all the relationships in our lives is to really start to understand, the things that are really functional for us, but, the functional for our friends too. And when you start to really like lock in on what each of the categories of friends that you have are, and what each of the categories of friends that you should have to be a successful human are, it gets a lot easier to start recognizing opportunity with people and things that you would maybe miss before, things that maybe are standing right in front of you that are an opportunity to better your life, to better a friend's life, and just to have an all around good thing. It's easy to miss them if you don't know what you're looking for. And so with, sort of this whole process, we all kind of went around And we all feel like we're pretty successful people in terms of career slash, our personal lives. But why? And a lot of that goes down to friendships and the people that we've decided to surround ourselves with. I keep hearing all these people say, you are the result of your, 5 or 10 closest friends. You are like the summation of that. Okay, great. But what does that mean? Like what, that's such an open-ended thing. And like, I've always thought that was good advice, but also pretty crappy advice, because that can actually lead to some very toxic things. If you have a bunch of uh, toxic hustlers around you, okay, well, yes, you're going to be a hustler, but like you're also might lead you to getting a divorce because you focus too much on that stuff. And that's the thing. I've had all these people that have like sort of heard that advice over the years, and I was like, that's great, but I've seen a lot of people really ruin their lives because they focus on being around these 10 people who are all exactly the same, and you don't have any sort of balance in your life. And so the things that we've kind of been talking about, you guys, behind the scenes before we got on the call, we've really broken down over the last few months of, okay, why are we so successful in terms of personal and business? And why do we feel like we've got a lot of balance in our lives? And it is because of these groups of people. And when we really started to break it down and get like granular with it, because once again, this is what I drive everybody crazy with, is I want everything to fit into a box. Even when it doesn't always fit in a box, I want to get it as categorized as I possibly can so that I can repeat the pattern. That's the real thing for me, is I want to be able to repeat the pattern. If you lost everything tomorrow, could you go repeat the pattern? And with friendships, I think that it is obviously, good people are hard to find, but they're not as hard to find if you have an idea of what you're looking for, and if you have an idea of what keeps you healthy. And so as we get into this, what we call the themes team, um, that's really what we've done, is we've really broken down. Not only did we look at ourselves, but we looked at a lot of very successful people, and we've sort of broken down things that we've heard them say on their podcast, or we've heard them say on their YouTube about some of their friends and who they go to. And what you guys are going to be getting today is, who should you be surrounding yourself with? Or maybe who have you already surrounded yourself with that fits into these categories? And maybe what are you missing? And what can you do to sort of fill this up? And so, to me, I'm so excited about really breaking this down, because like I said, we put labels on people, that gets dangerous. There is a sort of a dark side of this. It can come off as very selfish, but the idea is when you fill each of these boxes for yourself, you are a happier person, and you can give more to each of the people that fit into these categories, because you know sort of what that relationship is and what is the strength of it, but also what are the weaknesses of those relationships. What maybe is not something you should try to do. I am guilty of this, and I know you guys are too. Sometimes I try to mix friends that have no business being mixed. Right. It's like, and I have made this mistake in the past, and it was friends that were in different categories for me that we're going to talk about today that I tried to mix, and they didn't go well. And I was like, why did this not work? They're such good people. And when you really start to hear how this sort of lays out, you start to understand why sometimes that doesn't work. And you start to understand, oh, it's because this person fit into this category, this one. And of course, they didn't mix. And so for me, I'm really excited about this, because it starts to give anybody that's out there a roadmap to what your friendships maybe actually are, but also what are some holes that you can fill in. And so that's why I get excited about today. I think everybody that's listening to this, I want everybody listening to think about this. Who are each of these people? As we go through each of these things, who are each of these people that you already have? What are you maybe missing? And how can you maybe fill that? And when you do that, you're going to lead yourself to a lot more balance. And it's crazy. When you get this down, the success goes up, but also the happiness goes up. And I think that's something sometimes that we have a really tough time with. The success goes up, but my personal life goes down. And how do you get both of those things to go up? And I think that's what we're really going to be doing. So Tabitha, like in terms of, this themes roadmap, this theme system that we've sort of put together, you know, what has this meant to you in your life so far, as you've started to look at your personal relationships? How has this sort of affected you when you started seeing things this way?
Well, it made me realize that I don't have just one person in each of these categories. I could have several people in different scenarios, depending on which ones we're going with, that fit each one of these categories. So I may not just have one friend that fits that one thing. I may have three friends for different scenarios, depending on what it is. So that's the one thing. And then I do have areas where I'm missing. It's so like we're going to come across a category later on that I'm going to be like, okay, this is where I'm missing somebody. I need to fill this spot. I think I know somebody that could, but I have never really had conversations with them like that before. So maybe that's some conversations that I need to add to my life, and friends that I already have, but that could help me fill an area of my life. So
Well, and I think that that's the thing that I really hit with too is like, there's so many opportunities to go hang out with people and do things, but like, where should you focus your time so that, you feel like you're giving back, but also that you feel like, you're going to be the most successful with the time you do spend because we're all adults here and we only have so many hours in the day. So where do you allot that time? And I think that that's what's so great about what we're about to go through is if you are missing one of these, and I think that most people that listen to this are going to be missing 1 to 2, and filling in those 1 to 2 is going to be huge for them. But like, that's the thing. Once you understand this system, you're going to see pathways in your life that all of a sudden, those are the paths that you should go down, not these other 8 that are in front of you with relationships. And so I think
well,
this
not
is going to be fun. Go
well,
ahead.
not only that, but that what role can you be in somebody else's life as well? So which one of these fits you to a T that where you can start, even if somebody's not asking for it, but you can start injecting that into other people's lives as well.
Yeah, and it really places you. Not only is it something that like you're going to get a lot of benefit from, but it makes it easier for you to understand how you fit in certain social situations with your friends, so that the whole thing is smoother. And like I think that's the other side of this is that so many times I put myself in a position where I was a bad fit for that particular situation because I didn't really understand my role in that, and really starting to look at all your interactions this way and being like, who is this person for me, but how do I fit into this whole scenario too? It really starts to give you a roadmap of what friendships that you currently have or the ones that you want to have should be like. And this is, I hate throwing this out there, but this is one of those things that if you really take it to heart and you sort of memorize this acronym, and I'm not trying to give anybody homework here, but if you really understand what this is and how it comes together, it's life changing. It's one of those little things that you can learn that from this day forward changes everything about the way you are without changing who you are. And that's where this gets really good. So I'm going to shut up because we got to get to like the actual meat of this. And so Marshall, take us in, man. Like, let's talk about what is this themes thing.
Well, you guys set it up so perfectly there. And I got to tell you, what you just said rings really true for me too, because us going through this process of developing this themes team and kind of determining these people in our own lives I've had so many light bulb moments doing this for myself going, man, I really value this person in my life because they bring so much of this. And then just what Tab just said, that's what I'm finding myself now kind of turning the mirror a little bit going, which one of these am I for somebody else? And how do I get better at doing that? Because I want to, I want someone to look at me that way I'm looking at the people on my themes team, So really cool conversation. Let's get into it. Yeah. The themes team. So we've talked about it several times, but it is an acronym. We got to know exactly what the hell it stands for, right? So themes, fully spelled out, THEMES. And we're going to have 6 different people that build up our team. So the T stands for tough love, and we're going to dig into each one of these. The H actually stands for health nut. The first E stands for educator, and you're starting to probably think about some things. Okay, I'm starting to get some ideas for some people in my head. The M is all about money, so your money whiz that's on your team. The second E is escape artist. And then the S is the spiritual guru. So that's going to be a nice little tease. That's what the themes team is. But what we're going to do is we're going to dissect every single piece of this so you can start to think about, okay, who is that person in my life? What role do they play? Have I already assigned this value to them, or do I need to start doing so? This is a fun conversation. I'm excited up for us to dig in. Tab, you want to start us out and talk a little bit about that first T, that tough love?
Yeah, yeah. So, like you just said, the first T is tough love. And that is the person that's going to shoot you straight, that they're going to give you advice, maybe not the advice you want, but the advice that you need to hear. They're going to talk you down off bad ideas. They could be a little bit of a hard ass for you, but it's not one that's a mean hard ass. It's one that you actually love. And for me, this person, if you'd asked me 7 years ago who this person was, I wouldn't be able to tell you at all who it was. But I met a friend of mine probably about 5 years ago in my church group who has completely turned into this person for me. I remember a day, it's probably 4 years ago, that I had gone to a meeting and this friend drug me to the side, looked me square in the eye, and is like, "You've got this going on in your life. This is not who you told me you want to be. This is not who you said your value system is. You are not this person. And what are you doing?" And it wasn't in this judgmental tone. It wasn't in this pointing a finger at you. It was in very loving, like I could see it was so hard for her to have this conversation with me. But she's like, "I love you. I know what your values are. I know what you stand for. This does not align with that. What are you doing? And how can I help you?" And her name's Amy. She's incredible. She, in that moment, because it was a very hard conversation for both of us, we ended up in tears. Hard conversation, but in that moment, she become a closer friend to me than I have had friends my entire life. And I had only known her for about 4 years, but it's because she was able to have that really hard, tough conversation with me about my value system and things that were not lining up with that value system. She's tough cookie, and to this day, if I need to hear maybe not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear, she's always going to be that person that I will call and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on. Tell me what I need to hear." And I know she'll tell me the truth no matter what.
Well, and I think that you said something that was very important. Sometimes it's easy to confuse this person. If you've been in some bad relationships, it's easy to confuse this person with the wrong. It's someone that's not actually giving you tough love. Someone that's actually saying things to you because they're intimidated by you, and they're trying to pull you down. And what you said, I think it was very important. That is like the key here, is this is a person that you have shared who you want to be,
Hmm.
right? Who you want to be, and this is a person that is tied into things that you have said that you want to be, where you want to go with your life, and they hold you accountable to that. They don't hold you accountable to their standards.
Correct.
That's not what this is at all.
No.
And I I think the most important thing that we can realize with this whole thing is um, there are some very toxic relationships that look like this one, which you have to be very, very careful about. And the difference is simply that the ones that are toxic, they are trying to hold you to a standard that is theirs or what they think you should be. And, they are trying to put a set of standards on top of you. They are not trying to hold you to what you said you wanted to be. And I think that's the key point of what you said is like, when you have really put out into the world, and when I say to the world, it can just be to a few friends, but when you've put out into the world what you want for yourselves, that's where this tough love person comes in. They're the person that says, you're not going down the path that you said you wanted to. And I've come into these relationships several ways. I've come into it from a very, strictly friend standpoint, but I've also come into it from a standpoint where I started off with this person because I was paying them to do this. Like they were a coach. They were somebody that was 3 years down the road from what I wanted to be. And I knew they had it figured out. Like I knew that they were somebody that had already walked the path, and I was paying them to look at what I was doing because I couldn't get a perspective on it because I was so in the middle of it. And I was paying them to really tell me, hey, this is where you're messing up. This is what you should be doing based on what you told me you wanted. And good coaching relationships start out that way. Good coaching relationships really start out with you saying, this is what I want in my life, and I'm not quite sure how to get there. What do you think? And So what I mean by this is like we're talking friendships, but some of my really, really good friendships have started off as me putting myself in a place of coaching. Now, that could be like a high ticket coaching where you're paying a lot of money for someone to do something, or it could be very much as simple as you paying a personal trainer who you see maybe 1 or 2 times a week. And you said, well, this is what I'm trying to do. And I know that I'm going to get to a place. I know my spouse, my kids are going to get to a place where they're going to be like, it's okay that you do this today. It's all right. You've worked hard this week. But my fitness person is not going to do that. They're going to hold me there, but I'm going to pay them for it. A lot of my really good friendships overall had started off in sort of a coaching scenario, whether I was the coach or whether I was paying someone to coach me. And they got me to a place because I paid them maybe to do it. And then over time, they turned into just someone who did it because, we developed a bond. But the thing is, a lot of people are out there being like right now, like, I don't have anybody in my life that really fits into that or that I trust to do those things. Look for opportunities to buy it. I know that's not the context of what we thought we were going to be in right away. But if you don't have that, sometimes that's where a really good coaching scenario comes in. And like I said, a lot of the coaches that I started off paying, we still have that relationship, even though we've gone past that initial payment. And, it's because I opened myself up. I very vulnerably said, this is what I want. And I don't quite know how to get there. And they got me there. And
Well,
so
that could be a
I'm like you.
therapist
I have
too.
people that I
Not
have.
just a coach, but a therapist
Sure,
as well.
sure.
100%.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's exactly that. A good therapist, and I'm big on mental health and getting people to help with your mental health. A great therapist is not someone that's just going to tell you how to live your life. A great therapist is someone that listens to what your goals actually are and then helps you to find the path to get there and holds your feet to the fire to actually get there. And so, like I said, sometimes, and sometimes this one is going to be a scenario where you are paying someone for this. That still counts. That still counts because remember, a lot of this is about how are we more successful people? How are we happier people? And if you are in a situation where maybe you don't have somebody that can just be that in your life and you can't find it, there's plenty of people around that you can pay and they can fill this role to get you there. Because I'm going to be really honest with you. It takes a very strong person, you personally, it takes a very strong person to take feedback in the beginning from somebody that you're not paying. So if maybe you don't feel like you're there yet, or you don't have that relationship, or somebody says something and you would take offense to it if you weren't paying them, go pay someone. This is a great way to start with this one. And then, like I said, the idea is you get stronger as a human, and then you'll start opening yourself up to mentors that maybe you're not paying. And I think it's absolutely huge. And I love this one because the most successful people I know have at least one person in their life that does this for them. At least one. The people that don't have this are some of the most unhappy people that I know. And yeah, Tab, I thank goodness you got Amy in your life, right? I mean, like it's, and I know it's something you've worked on too, though. Like this was work to maintain this friendship, because what could have happened is Amy could have said that, and that was the end of the friendship. That's why
And
it was
it
so
wasn't.
hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It
and so
wasn't easy for her to have that conversation with me. It was
Sure.
hard for her, but that's a true friendship and a person who honestly loves me enough to tell me the hard truths.
Well, and I think that's so key, is we really have to be ready for that. And sometimes when we're not ready for it, you pay. But, like I said, that's the start. And I think the tough love one is definitely one of my favorites because it is so difficult to wrap your head around. But this is one that I think if you get this one in your life, it really opens you up to a lot of the other stuff that we're about to hit. So
yeah, and I think I'll throw this in too, because as you guys have been talking about this, I really feel like the tough love person, the T on your themes team, really feels like your rock, right? Like you're talking about strength. I mean, isn't that the person you want kind of setting the foundation for your core crew around you? Like you want that person. Yeah, you want that person that you can depend on. And I think that's why I think the phrase tough love is so perfect, because tough is strong, it's durable, it's, someone you can literally depend on, but it comes from a place of love, and it's all someone that's there to support you like a rock would, like a true, supporter would do. So I think that's just such a key element. I think that's why we naturally let off with tough love, because it's just the cornerstone of being able to surround yourself with people that are going to make you more successful. There's no doubt.
Love it. So that's our T. What's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to the H. So our H stands for health nut. So when you started thinking about the health nut in your group, on your team, yeah, you think about the person that you kind of look to when you want to focus on being healthier overall, whether that's mentally or physically, right? We already, kind of touched on the ability to be able to lean on people to help us in a mental capacity, but also some that helps in a physical standpoint too. So, maybe this is a person on your team that you share information about, workouts or diet, or, maybe supplements that you want to take, things like that. I specifically can think of a couple of different people, but there's one individual that lives in my life, that's in my sphere, that I keep on my themes team, that I really lean on in this facet, because he's proven, and he's done it, over a long period of time. He's extremely healthy. He's been doing it for a long time. He's, someone that I can lean to, that is kind of that, another cornerstone from the standpoint of being able to mentally and physically check all the boxes, right? And it's not like, okay, this is the person that's in the best shape, or necessarily does everything right every single time we see each other, but they are the person that I can lean on. I can pick up the phone and go, listen, I'm thinking about making this physical change in my life. I'm thinking about, getting down the road to making this mental change in my life. What are some things that you have done in your past? Because I've watched you for 30 plus years that we have been friends, and you have been able to check these boxes consistently. So I think having that healthy person in your on your team and in your corner is just absolutely vital.
100%. I think that's the thing, is it's like you look around, um, and we all go through cycles to where we're doing the right things health wise, we're not doing the right things health wise. And if you are out on your own and left to your own devices to go research things, I don't care if you are the most knowledgeable health person in the world, it can't always be internal. You have to have somebody outside of yourself. And like I said, I know people that I think are they're in the best shape of their lives. They have this friend. They have the health friend for them. And I think that that's the thing that always hit me. I was like, but you're in such good shape. Like, why do you have this person? They're like, because I can't see it sometimes, because this is me. I don't look at myself the way that the world sees me, and I don't look at myself, I can't see all these things. And so, for me, it really is. I've got a couple of people in my life, and I love that you said this. They don't always make all the right decisions, and I actually respect them more because they don't always make all the right decisions. It's hard for me to buy into somebody that is perfect all the time in this aspect. I need somebody that is an actual human, that has actual temptation, and that kind of shows me the way. And so I've got a couple of these. Like, this is one where I've got a couple of these, and I actually go to different ones for different things. I have one that's more of a runner, and I'm not a runner, by the way, that I talk to for more about. I'm like, what is this even about? Like, how does this work? And there's so much stuff that they've researched, and they've been years ahead of me on, that when I am ready, they're the person I go to. And I've got people that are on the flip side are very big into like weights and making sure that, we've got the weight side, and they know what to do. They know the supplements to take. They know the things to do so that you don't get hurt. And that's my go-to on that. But then I also have, the people that are very, very good at the food side. And so, we talked about multiples in this, and I really do. I have these people that sort of fit this, and they're my go-to. And that's the thing. I'm not always perfect. I go sometimes stretches of, a month or two where I'm not doing the right things. But when I kind of hit that place where I'm like, okay, get it together, you have to have somebody that's there to get you there. And I think more importantly than this too, is you have to have that person to where, you're kind of looking at them and being like, I'm not ever going to let myself go so far that I'm like completely out of the realm where they're going to look at me and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so like that's the thing. I feel like I'm always in just good enough shape that I'm not going to disappoint. and and I'm always eating just good enough that I'm not going to disappoint. And I know that sounds really weird to people because they're like, that's wow, that's a weird thing to say out loud. I mean, it doesn't sound confident at all. It doesn't, but like it really, if I really examine kind of how I conduct myself, it really is making sure that I don't disappoint these people because I've let myself go to a spot. Because guys, with work, with kids, with all the things that happen, health is not always the top of my mind. I wish it was. I wish it was. I want to live forever, but it's just not always the top of my mind. Real life creeps in. But having those people in my life and having them close enough to me where I know I'm going to see them in person, it's important. It's really, really important to me because it keeps me at a baseline. And if I ever slip past that baseline, I know that, okay, get it together, dude, get it together. And I can call them and they've got the advice that I need to get to. So it's weird that I don't know. That's a very vulnerable thing for me to actually admit that I think that way because I don't not necessarily proud of that's the way, but let's be honest. We all kind of think that way. We all kind of have ourselves in a spot where we're like, I have this baseline of this is where I'm going to be because this is the expectation of these people that I'm around that I think a lot of, that I admire. And once again, this is where we go back to you are the summation of the people that you're around. Yeah, but this is us getting deep into what that actually means. And so I think it's incredibly important that you have those people that are sort of your role models that you can go to for advice, but also those people that you're sort of like, you know, I want I aspire to be that. And I'm never going to let myself get to a place to where that is not possible to be to that place. And so, maybe you don't achieve it, but having those people that you can look at and being like, yeah, they got it figured out. I want to be like that. And you can at least get some of those things and really form the balance. That's where I think this is good. Like I said, we didn't say all of this was going to be easy to get out or easy to think about, but yeah, that's the way it works.
Well, and, Tab, I know you're recently on a new health journey, so you've obviously probably adopted a health nut in your own. How's that going? Is it kind of a
Well,
similar situation?
yeah, so I this is funny. I had recently joined a body boot camp where I just get my ass kicked every day and I love it.
Yeah.
But the girl that has always been, and Ben knows Michelle. Michelle has been my personal trainer for years and years, who has kicked my ass numerous times because I'll get out of shape and then get in shape and out of shape. She recently joined the gym with me, and so she's there right next to me. That my normal guru, who has always been my personal trainer, is at this body boot camp with me. She's my partner when I'm working out, and we're both getting our ass kicked together. And so, uh,
No, I've
so yeah, I've got a
well,
double whammy now. So
I think that one of the interesting things is having you all in my life doing things gets me excited to do my own things. And so this is contagious amongst your friend group. And I really want to we focused on, okay, we're doing a lot of these things for selfish reasons, but in your own friend group with all your friends, no matter where they fit, this health part, when you start getting it right, it becomes something that's contagious throughout. And so, yeah. And so having these people in your life that you could pull these things from, it's amazing how quickly all my other friends know the stuff that I learned because I'm excited to know it and because it helps me. And so it's one of those things that having these people in your life drastically affects your entire group. And there's waves and ripples that happen because you have this person in your life. So I think that this one's incredibly important just because of the cumulative effect that it has on you, but on your friend group as well. And like I said, it's good to have those standards of where you are because I think sometimes, especially when you work from home, you guys, it's real easy to lose track of things. I know the first, confession here, the first 3 months that I worked exclusively from home, I put on like 20 pounds. Like there was just not as much reason to worry about it. Plus, you take for granted how much you're moving. I was running a circle in a chiropractic office all day. I didn't realize I was on a track all day. I had no idea that I was running track, or walking track every day, but I was. And so I got home and I wasn't there. And having these people in my life, Michelle was one of these people at the time because I lived in the same town as you and was one of those people that I was like, okay, I need to go talk to them. I need to go talk to Michelle and be like, okay, what can I do? And she got me right back to where I wanted to be very, very quickly. It wasn't that hard because she had knowledge, and I tried without her for about a month, and I was like, this is terrible. I hate my life right now and what I'm trying to do. And she just pointed me in a couple of directions, and bam, it was like that. And I think the other part that we really got to mention here is having these people in your life is going to save you a lot of effort. Fitness is not as hard as what a lot of people make it out to be when you're doing it by yourself. Fitness is a lot easier when you have people that are giving you tricks. um, and I don't mean unhealthy tricks. I mean things that actually get you the result for the time you're putting in. You know, at this point, you guys, when I go to the gym, I'm there 20 minutes. The reason I'm there 20 minutes is because I learned a while back from one of my friends that was there. They were just like, I don't spend hours in the gym. I'm not 22. You know, that's nothing against 22-year-olds. When you can do it and your body can take it, go do it. Go to the gym a couple times a day. Your body will look great and your body can take it. But when you sort of get to where I am at 40, I can't do that kind of thing because I'll hurt myself or I will become so sore that I can't go anymore. So, you know, somebody told me a while back, you know, hey, when you get about 30, 35, start really hitting that 20 minutes, do this sort of stuff while you're there and just be consistent. Like if you can do that 3 to 5 times a week, you are going to be in amazing shape and you're going to feel good and you're never going to be so sore. And it was one of those little tricks that I was like, I don't have to spend an hour in the gym. Really? The other thing that they told me was you don't have to be on the treadmill every day, man. You know, and that was huge for me. They're like, if you go do circuit training with the weights, you're going to get your cardio because you're a chunk of a person, and moving this chunk around is going to get you the cardio that you need. And so it's little stuff like that that you don't understand if you're just looking at conventional advice that you find online. And that's the kind of stuff that somebody that really is in it every day can tell you, because not only are they seeing themselves, they're seeing all these other people that they're helping and they have an interest in it. That's the thing. I don't really have an interest in being someone that is hardcore thinking about healthy stuff all the time. I'm someone that understands that I want to look and feel a certain way. And I got the phone that I can pick up and call a friend that fits into this category. So I think this one's incredibly important. You ready to keep going?
Yeah, let's move on. That was good. We're two into our themes team.
We're 2 in. Yeah, we got the T and the H. Let's go to the first E here. Educator. Who is your go-to when you want to be educated on something? So I like this one because I think I fit into this for a lot of people. Actually, people pay me a lot of money to fit into this. I have built an entire career off of being an educator. What is this? This is the person who obsessively takes something that is somewhat complicated and breaks it down into steps. Like, doesn't matter what it is, this is the person that is what they like to do. And typically, there's something wrong with this person that they have to do that. Let's just get that out on the table too. But use that dysfunction to your advantage. Now, this is the person that no matter what, they're always teaching you something that's not only just teaching you something, but teaching you something that's useful. And that's the thing. This is the person that you look at your life and you're like, yeah, we were just sitting at a restaurant the other night and they talked about this. And I was like, it really made me think. And I was like, and I started implementing it right away. Like I got what they were talking about out of it. And I think that's the thing. It's somebody that can naturally weave education into the conversations that you have back and forth. It's somebody that is, you know, able to be somewhat entertaining through their education process. But once again, this is to me, I've got these friends and it's just like they love breaking down a complicated concept for themselves, but then they also love sharing it. And I think that's the thing that we're really looking for here is you're looking for someone that learned something, that spent the time in front of a computer or spent the time doing the thing, putting in hours and hours and hours. And not only did they do it and they got the information for themselves, but they freely want to share it with other people to make other people's lives better. And I think everybody here has someone in their life that is that person, has become that person that does that. And obviously, this can fit into some of the other categories as well. But the big thing that I really am looking for with this person is every time I hang out with them, do I walk away feeling motivated to go try something new or to test something out? That's the overwhelming feeling that I have when I'm around this person is there's just this little tidbit they gave me and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I'll try that. Or, you know, maybe I disagreed with them at first, but then I really got to thinking about it and I'm like, huh, I wonder how that works. I wonder if that could better my life. And I try it out. And, sometimes it falls flat. Sometimes it doesn't work for me. But it's somebody that's always giving me new things to try based on what I know is hours of research, not something they threw out because they had no experience with it. This is what you have to watch out for here. There's lots of people that like to give advice, but there's this group of friends, this particular person that we're looking for in our lives is somebody that absolutely nerded out on something for hours and hours and hours, and they really have become at least a little bit of a mini expert on it, and they wanted to share some of the hacks, and that's really it. They wanted to share the shortcuts with you. And so I've got several of these. Just my nature of work has exposed me to a lot of these people. um, but what about you guys? Like, what I mean, Tab, Marshall, like who do you guys look at that you're like, yeah, this is this person in my life, and I met them in an interesting way, maybe, but who do you have?
I'm literally pointing at you.
I start saying
Sorry.
you're one
No,
of
no,
mine. So
it's he's one of them. I agree. It's the same, and something you touched on there, and I think the way I think about the educators in my life, they are obsessive learners. Like like borderline like obsessive compulsive about learning. And I think that is what makes them amazing educators for me. And sometimes, it doesn't mean they even have to specifically educate me. Their compulsion about learning motivates me to educate myself. And I love that about the educators in my life. I've got several of them, been you're one of them, but there's several of them that I can think of right off the top of my head that really just will dive all the way into whatever subject it is, whatever, skill they're adding to their skill belt, anything that they could go about learning, they will dive all the way in. And there is something so motivating about that. When you have that person that is on your team and you're around them, it makes you want to go and educate yourself too. So I think that's a big, big piece.
yeah, and I
Very
would
true. And I think that, go ahead.
piggyback off of that and say for you, for me, is a little bit different because you always educate me on things that we don't always see eye to eye on. You and I have very differencing and opinions on things. And I love that about you because you can bring things to me and educate me on things that I hadn't thought of before in a certain way. And so for me, that's how you fit that education mold for me because you always bring a scenario that I hadn't thought of. You just always bring a different mind frame for me. So
Well, yeah, and to piggyback off both of what you guys said, I mean, I really do think it is. It's for all of our psychology professionals in the audience, is it obsessive compulsive? Is that what we're looking for? I do like I. It's funny. I know for me, I will sit down at a problem that maybe we've discussed at a meeting that week, you know, and I will sit down when I have some free time and I'll look up and it's 5 hours later. And the thing that I'm trying to put together is I'm trying to understand the steps. And I think that a lot of times where we get really stuck is, I had somebody that I did a consult with earlier this week, and they had all the pieces of the puzzle, everything they needed to make a business work, but they hadn't put that final piece in where they knew how to connect it, step by step connect it. And that was the piece, is like, the value that I hope that I added to their life, as, an educator was just showing them, okay, well, you have to explain to me how they connect. That the difference between having a product and selling a product is when you sell a product, you can explain how these things connect. And I think that that's my thing. I have a general fascination with how things connect and what boxes things fit in. Sometimes they don't fit in boxes, but have you done enough research to know? And I think the educators in my life um, are really good at that. One of the and you guys know this cat, uh, Richard, that we hang out with, and he has his podcast company. And so Richard, you guys, we'll put a link to Richard's podcast company in this. Is like when I hang out with Richard, I'm like, you are not nearly as obsessive as Richard. Now I say this as a compliment. Like Richard is the kind of person that when I hang out with him, he will beat a topic to death where he knows every single detail to it, step by step. And his podcast company is a reflection of that. It's what they do is they take podcasts like ours and they will turn it into, they'll make sure it sounds good, that it's uploaded. They'll make sure that, you've got content pieces that come out of it. But the real interesting part about how Richard's business works is he really has every step of the process down to a machine. And so Richard's one of those people that came to us as a customer, but like I look at Richard now and I'm like, Richard is one of those people that if I really need to break something down to its finest detail and really understand all the inner workings, that's a guy that I'm going to go to first and say, how does this work? And like I said, with his business, it's such a reflection of that when you see the detail at which he serves his customers, but how he does it in a way where he can scale it. It's just incredibly impressive. And so, those are the people that I think that you're looking for in your life. And the real function that they bring a lot is like Marshall says, they motivate you because they do this. But the function that they bring is they're able to break the world down into pieces that maybe you couldn't see. You see the whole, and they break the world down into pieces, and it makes everything make a lot more sense because you see the pieces that make up the big thing. And when you find these people, hold on to them, because it's not just about somebody that's an educator. It's about an educator that their style fits you. And so they're few and far between, but when you find them, hold them right there. I hadn't thought to talk about Richard today, but when I get into who are mine, like Richard's one of those people. And it's incredibly impressive when you've got those people in your life and you can understand how they're trying to break the world down for you. So that, I think that one's a good one to have too. And it's, those are big foundational components for me. And this next one that we want to talk about, I think is important for everybody, especially right now. I think too long in the world, we've not focused on this next thing as individuals. You don't have to be great at this next one yourself. Having this person in your life makes all the difference. And so I'll let Marshall dig into this next one.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly right there. It's crazy because we talk about, and especially on this conversation today, we are specifically talking about how do we and how have we gotten to this successful point in our lives, right? Well, an element of that, whether we want to talk about it all the time or not, has to be the financial element, and has to be money. So I think a very important component of my own personal team and anybody out there is the money whiz on your team. And I can specifically think about that person that I go to when I need financial advice because that is not my skill set. That's not where my skills lie. And I need that person on my team because that is a very foundational piece of how I'm living my life and how I'm operating my business. So, this is the person you hit up when you're wanting to talk maybe investment strategies, or maybe you're wanting to start a new business, or hey, I'm about to buy a house, whatever it is. These are all the kinds of things that go on in your life that if you don't have this person in your corner, it becomes a lot more difficult to execute some things. And having this person, for me, on me personally, I've got one very specific person. Oddly enough, it's my brother-in-law, but I can remember, I've made a couple of career changes leading me to this point. Thank God, ending up to this point. But it's like I came from a very corporate world where I was building things like 401ks and stuff. And so when you make those transfers from one job to another, there's a financial element, and I had no idea where to even start. And I remember picking up the phone and being like, Jake, what do I do here? What percentage goes to where? Do I take it all with me? Do I cash it out? Like, and these are just questions that I had right off the bat. And I'm like, man, I don't even know where to start. And if I didn't have that person already on my team, I'd have been in a lot of trouble. And it happened multiple times. And I can still, even to this point, if we're considering buying a car, or we're going to buy a house, or we're making, maybe an investment. We're thinking about, potentially building a little side hustle right now. You guys already know this. We're working on, my wife and I are actually working on potentially getting into like furniture rehabs and stuff like that. But there's a financial element of that we need to make sure that we understand, and going into that. So it's so nice. Nice is not even the word. It's a weight off your shoulders when you have this person in your corner, because it allows you to focus on the things that you are good at. And like I said, in my case, I've got those things, and those are the things I can focus on. When it comes to money stuff, man, I lean on some people, and I'm sure both of you do too.
Tap, you
Actually,
want to
for
go
me,
first?
this is the one area where I said that I was lacking in. This is my area
Oh,
that I'm lacking in, is having that money whiz. Like, I'm a very I don't take risk, especially when it comes to money. Like, I value security and having things, and I don't ever take risks. So if I'm getting advice for somebody trying to get me out of that to take risks, I call my brother. But outside of that, I don't really have anybody. I mean, besides like my financial advisor, that guy that's got my 401k, but like a friend, I this is really an area where I'm lacking in, and I need somebody here. So,
Well, I'm kind of the opposite. Is I'm much more of a risk taker. I'm not a gambler. I don't go to casinos and do that kind of thing. But from a perspective of like taking risk with putting money in places to see if things will blow up, I've definitely done that. And so the warning I want to put out to everybody here is this: um, you would not want to take financial advice from me 6, 7 years ago. But here's why you might make that mistake. Here's why you might make the mistake of thinking that I'm somebody that you want to take financial advice from 6, 7 years ago, because I was really good at making it. I've been really good at making money for a long time now. And I think a lot of times it's easy to confuse someone that makes a lot of money with somebody that's good with money. And those are two very, very different things. And I had to sit somebody down a long time ago that was an employee of ours for a while, who I admire very greatly. And the answer to their problems was always making more money. And I had to sit them down and say, no, your financial problems will follow you through however much money you make. That's not what this is all about. It's all about understanding, having some financial literacy and understanding some core things about where your money goes and how you're spending it and the life cycle of your money after it hits your bank account. And that's the thing, is your problems will always follow you no matter how much money you have. So 6, 7 years ago, you know, just opening up the door here, very good at making money, not very good at keeping money. Not very good at keeping money. Now, that's not really fair for me because a lot of my money went back into this company. Am I reaping benefits now from those investments? Of course I am. Of course I am. Am I reaping benefits from putting more money back into staff earlier than a lot of people, a lot of my peers in this industry? Yes. Am I going to probably take money out of my pocket and put more money into staff in this next year, this next 2 years, next 3 years to continue that trend that could be in my pocket? Of course. But this is an investment. But there's definitely some things that I did that were stupid, just dumb, that were not sound financial decisions. And then you look up one day and you realize, you're like, I've got this really successful business and I don't have the kind of money that I think I should have sitting around and have access to anytime I need it. And so I think it's really, really important to find some people that you trust that are in similar situations as you. And so one of the things that I had to really do is look at people that had businesses like mine. And that's, at the time, we're trending more that direction. But at the time, there weren't a lot of people. So I had to really kind of go into my circle. Let me tell you, in the online marketing circle 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a lot of people that made a lot of money who were really not good at finances. I thought I was bad. I was okay. I was okay the whole time. There was a lot of people that really didn't have it together, but there was also some really good people that taught me a lot. Somebody that taught me a lot about money that changed my life. And we talk about these folks in our circles for being good at webinars and being sales geniuses. Um, but this is what they taught me. It's two people, and I'm going to give them both credit. Jason Fladlin and Wilson Matos. Jason Fladlin and Wilson Matos changed my life several years back because they taught me a better way to make money. But I also had them to look up to in terms of how they sort of kept the money that they made. and what they did with it. And, I haven't talked to those guys in a couple years at this point. But it's always a phone call that I can make. And I trust that they can give me some perspective on things because of where they sit. There are people that have been in internet marketing that have made a lot of money, but they've kept a lot of money too. And they're what I call the professionals. And, Wilson, to give even more props to Wilson, Wilson's the guy that I don't think gets enough props in that marriage at the time of, that partnership. And I have no idea what they're doing right now because I've not talked to him in a couple years, but I would call Wilson up at any point and be like, Wilson, Will, I need some advice on this because this is where I'm at. And Jason gets a lot of the props, as he should, because he's a master salesman, one of the best on the actual planet at making sales. But the flip side of that too, not that Wilson's any schlub when it comes to making sales, that guys can sell too, but Wilson's the guy that really got me grounded in terms of how to run a business, how to keep a lot of the money that we had, and how to sort of reinvest. I'm still working on it. I'm with you. Like, I'm still working on the right ways to do it. I make mistakes all the time, and some of those mistakes are super expensive. Some of them really pay off. But I think the key is with this one, it's important to recognize, number one, that not everybody that can make a lot of money should be your money guru, your money friend that fits into this. But when you do start making a little money, and even when you're not making a lot of money, it's important to have this person in your life that is ahead of you when it comes to investing, is ahead of you when it comes to managing their money, that you can always pick the phone up and call. And like Tabitha said, if you don't have someone like this right now, you start looking. That's the whole point of this podcast, is like, there's friends I don't have in this too, and that I can't really comment on because I don't really have that. And so the idea is, if you're missing one of these gaps, this is what you need to focus your attention on right now, is finding someone. And if you can't find someone in a friend group, go pay someone. It's not actually that expensive to pay someone for a little bit of their time to give you some advice. And you'd be surprised at what an hour can do for the rest of your life. And I really mean that, especially when it comes to money. An hour sitting down with somebody that has a lot of this stuff figured out, asking them a few pointed questions, can absolutely change the trajectory of your life, no matter how much money you make. I know a lot of people are like, man, I don't make a lot of money right now. And, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going to be, but I don't make a lot of money right now. It's still important to get your financial literacy down now and to work on it now, so that you don't make some of the mistakes that Ben made when he had a lot of money, because he didn't have as much of a financial literacy when I first started out. So, that's a deep topic that we could do a whole podcast on, but I think it's incredibly important because of this. I don't want to make everything about money. That's not who I am. But when you have money, you can help people do amazing things that they want to do, and you can make a big impact in the world. And so I think it's important that you have that friend in your life that can give you that, because the more money you have, the more power you have to affect the world and make it better. It's not just about, what can you go buy, or what can you put in your pocket, or what can you save. It's about how you can impact the world. And so, this is a big one. All right, moving on, because I know we've got more to cover. What's next?
We're
I
ready for that
think
second E. Hit
the
us.
second E. All right, let's do
Yeah.
it. So this one's the fun one. I love talking about this one. This is the escape artist. And this is when you need to get away and cut loose and just have fun. Who's the person? Who's the person you call that says, drop what you're doing right now, get in the car, get here, we're going, or they do that to you. And, it's having that person that is your travel buddy, or is that not necessarily even your travel buddy, but it's your concert buddy. It's your person that you like to do fun stuff with, because they're down. They're down to clown. And that's what I really think about this one. This is the person that's down to clown and have a good time with. And more importantly than that is, when you go do this, even if you're expending a lot of energy by going and doing one of these things, when you get to the other side, you have more energy. And so that's what I'm really looking for with this person. And I've got several of these. I'm so blessed to have several escape artists in my circle, that when it's time to go have some fun, these are the friends that you go after. By the way, I'm sitting in the room with two of them. Which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
I think the reason that we have so much fun, doing work stuff, is because these two people are part of my escape team. they're a part of that. And a great example is we had to go do pictures, for the podcast the other day. We had to like go do professional pictures for the podcast the other day. And that was a work setting. I didn't want to be like really weird and be like, oh, and you have to stay that night and hang out with me. But I threw out, I was like, hey, it'd be cool. I'm playing a gig that night. I'd love for you guys to come hang out. And you two were there. And the only regret that I have was that I played as long as I did and I didn't get to hang out with you guys more. And so like, I think that's the thing, is it's having those people in your life that you can detach from seriousness and just go be and experience the world and have fun with. These are really, really, really important people to have. So I'll kick it over to you guys. What are your thoughts, Marshall? We can start with you, and then we'll let Tabitha round us out.
Yeah, I think you really said it well. It's, we think about the most successful people that we know. Every time I think about the successful people in my life, the reason they're successful is because they know how to escape when they need it. And I really think that's so important, especially in the world we live in. We're post COVID, where we all work from home. We work hard. We do a lot of hard work. We do a lot of research. We are constantly trying to think of ways to innovate and build our business and things like that. So when you can unplug and really get away, it's very important. And I personally, I put a lot of value into that ability. And honestly, that's what makes, that's kind of what makes our world so great, because of that ability to unplug. When I'm here and plugged in, I'm ready to freaking go, and I'm ready to bust through walls, and it's because I've taken that time away when I was unplugged. And I think that's just so unbelievably important. But yeah, those people that are in my corner, and it's funny, we have a lot of the same people in that corner. And it's just, the ability to be able to pick up the phone and say, let's go, is just so valuable for your mental health, for your physical health, for my, my escape artists, my crew of escape artists is a physical thing, because I laugh nonstop. It's just constant belly laughter, and it brings you a different kind of joy than you get from your day to day. So it's just, the ability to escape, I just can't put enough value in. And it's interesting too. And I wanted to point this out because I started thinking about the escape artists on my team. I can remember, and we've talked about this with a couple of other ones, I can remember when I tried to incorporate other people into my escape artist team, and it didn't always work well. So you realize the people that fit into that escape artist team, and then the ones that really don't. You go to that Airbnb and you bring maybe an extra couple that, maybe is kind of on the fringe of your friends and you don't really know, and you bring them, and there's a whole different combustible element that you never even realized until you escaped with them. And so you learn about people when you escape with them, when you go somewhere offsite and do these kind of things. So I just think it's incredibly important to my own personal success, and for anybody that's looking to build their themes team, the escape artist is unbelievably important.
No, absolutely.
I
Yeah, Tab, I want to hear it
couldn't
because I
agree
know your
more.
group.
You know my group. So I don't have one escape artist. I have 7. We have a very, very tight-knit group of girls who call each other the Golden Girls, that we always escape together. One of the key women in my group, Janet, very, very, very successful business owner who owns Airbnbs all across the United States. So one of the things that we do is we go to all her different locations. We go to Nashville, we go to Colorado, we go to Gatlinburg, we go to Arkansas. I mean, we go all over the place. And like you said, just escape, go and just let loose and laugh and cry and just get away from my husband and kids and just just let loose. And they're a big element of why I am who I am, and they're very, very important to me.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of folks that I know, that have these groups, their groups have a name. Our group has a name. I don't know that I can say it on the podcast.
It's not as cool as
Golden,
Golden Girls.
no. Swamp Donkeys is not as cool as Golden Girls. But I think the point is like, this is the fun group. This is the group that is a lot of fun. It is very, very difficult when you try to introduce people into this group that don't fit into the escape artist category. Now, and I think this is important. I have successfully mingled two different people that were both escape artists together. It's funny how escape artists can hang with each other. Like, the problem is when you try to bring somebody in that's not an escape artist into a group of escape artists or with another escape artist. And I think that's the thing that I've really sort of wrapped my head around, is when you get these groups that there are conflicts, it's always because I brought somebody in that really wasn't my escape artist buddy into my escape artist group, or to into try to make them mingle with a friend that was an escape artist. And that's the thing. The escape artists actually are pretty good at adapting to people that you bring into the group, as long as they're escape artists too. And it's very hard to mix those groups, if not in any unsuccessful mingling of friend groups that I've ever had, or friends, has been because I have tried to bring people in that were not escape artists to an escape artist scenario. And, it's so powerful when you realize, oh, that's the problem. That's it. Like 99% of the mingling problems I've had with friends is that one right there. Is I've tried to blend that way. And once I started to like get that in my head and realize, oh, this person, I love them. They're great. They're a part of my world. I wouldn't, I'd do anything for them, but they don't belong in this group. They don't belong with this person because they're not an escape artist. That's not the purpose that we serve for each other. And when you get that, oh, a lot of things start making sense. A lot of things start making sense. And a lot of conflict goes out of your life when you start to understand that and you stop trying to mix those. Now, I will say this, I am fine mixing two different groups of escape artists together because it's usually a good time. Like, usually it's a blast. And it's funny how those people seem to lock in. And I've seen this not only with my groups, but I've seen other friends that were hesitant to bring friends together, but they brought escape artists together, and it works. It's amazing how well it works because your escape artists are typically down for anything, and yeah, I think that is a super powerful thing to realize. That one thing is something I wish I understood 10, 20 years ago. I would have saved myself a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache, a lot of wondering why these people don't get along, because they're both really, really great people. And I think that a lot of people listening today, if they will just take that one, if you listen to nothing else we say, if you just take that one, you'll really start to understand a lot of the dynamics of what's going on. So we got one more. We should get to it. This is the most interesting to me, in terms of like, this can go a lot of different ways, but when you really think about this one, it starts to make sense. So Tab, I'll let you dig into it.
Okay, so the last one is the S, and that is for the spiritual guru. And this is the person that you think about when you've got a spiritual crisis on your hands, or that you want wise and stable coach you through whatever it is that you're dealing with. So for me, this one is kind of surprising. It's somebody that I met through my church who is quite a bit older than me. Actually, she is the mom of one of my friends that we get along so well. You would not know there was such a huge age gap between the two of us, but she is the person, her name's Mary. I am able to call her, and she is the type of person that can put away any personal anything and just get down to the point of what's going on. She's also the person that can give me hard truths when I need it. But that can take whatever it is that I'm going through. Like, I'm right now, just to be very personal, going through a thing with my church who I'm thinking about leaving. And I was able to go to her, who goes to that church. She was able to put all her personal stuff aside and said, let's talk through this. And there's a lot to be said for that kind of person, that you trust their opinions, that they're not going to steer you in the wrong direction. And it doesn't have to be religious. I mean, this could just be whatever your belief system is. For me, that obviously goes the religious route, but it's important to have somebody there that can ground you on a spiritual level.
Well, for somebody that, grew up religious their whole life, but is not very into organized religion at this point in their life, I will just say this is exactly what Tabitha said. This does not have to be a religion thing. And this is 100% like, I don't care if you're religious or not. You have a spiritual side to yourself. We all have this side of ourselves that we ground ourselves as to what is the bigger meaning of all this. Even if you fully believe that it's all pointless, there is something that grounds you to the people around you. and the way that we should behave with each other and the way that we should behave to the things that we were given. Whether that was somebody that lived 100 years before you that planted a tree that gave you that, or whatever it may be. There are these things that are the bigger questions. And I think that's really what we're going in. It's just like, why are we here? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing here? What does it all mean in the grand scheme of things? Even if you're somebody that like maybe believes there is no point to it all, um, you still have a purpose. You still have a purpose here, and you still can affect people with that purpose. And what this person in your life or this group of people in your life is about for me is really helping me to organize the chaos of existing. And I think that that's the thing is it's like there's so many ways that this could go, and there's so many unanswerable questions. And I think that's the point of this particular thing is we're really talking about a lot of questions that can't be answered. There is no definitive right and not right. I don't want to say wrong because there's definitely some wrong things that we could talk about those. But I think there's a lot of things that like we'll never actually get some real answers to this while we're here. You know, that's for sure. And I think that sometimes it's who is that person that takes that chaos and explains it in a way, even if it's still being very aware of the chaos of it all, and gives you some comfort and gives you something that feels a little more stable to stand on. And I think that sometimes, well, I don't, not sometimes, a lot of the times, uh, all of a sudden, your connection to the world, your connection to the people around you, your connection to meaning starts to feel like sand underneath you that's shifting. And this is the person that helps take that sand and make sure that there's something solid underneath it. I think we're always going to be, in terms of spiritual and religion, we're always going to be standing on sand. I think that's the nature of it, right? Like that's sort of the idea is like there's a level of faith that we have to have with all this. So we're always going to be standing on sand, but is there something under the sand? Or are we going to sink underneath? And like I think that's the thing is like this is a human being that gives us a perspective on things that is outside of us. I'm going to give an example. Um, Somebody that did this for me was my good buddy Joe, and this is not like a big God question or something like that. But one of the things that is always in our vocabulary in this generation is I'm going to buy my forever home. I'm saving up to like get this home or whatever. And he told me one time, like this is like right in the middle of when he was building a home, like it was like his dream house, and he's got it. And it's beautiful. I'm going to be living there this summer. But the idea is he was in the middle of building a house, and he said, I don't think about the world like that anymore. He's like, everything changes and in a couple of years everything's can change, and I'm really thinking about putting myself in a position to where I have the ability to move and be fluid with whatever kind of gets thrown my way. And I don't know, it was like a lightning bolt that completely shifted my perspective. Like, and I consider myself a pretty fluid person in terms of travel and things like that, but he really just hit me up and he was like, yeah, we're building this home, man, but like I'm not going to say that this is where I'm going to live for the rest of my life. We may move over here because this is the most fun for us at that point. And I really wanted to be open. And I don't know why in that moment in my life, I think I was so concerned with buying a house and building a house or something that I couldn't see anything else. I really couldn't see anything else. And when he said that, like this huge amount of pressure was gone. Instantly, this huge amount of pressure was gone off my back. And I didn't feel so much in a hurry anymore. I didn't feel like I had to do what I thought I was doing. And when he said that and when that pressure was gone, I realized that pressure was completely unneeded and it didn't serve me at all. And so, I think about spiritual things, we can always think about the God thing. And I think that's important. I think those are big questions that we should be asking, no matter what you believe. I think it's stupid to not believe in a higher power, but still not be searching for if it's maybe out there. I think that that's important. And we're always searching for what is more, whether you believe in something or not, it's getting to truth. But I think that sometimes the spiritual guru is very subtle and hidden. And it's, if you're not looking for it, you miss it. And like I said, my buddy Joe comes out with just a right hook and slaps me in the face. I'm like, it's a wise man, wise man. And so he's somebody that, for a long time, he's one of my people that's also Tab. He's in my, good time travel group. Yeah, he's part of my core. But like in a lot of recent years, he's somebody that just he will come out with stuff. And I'm like, damn it, I love the way that this guy looks at the world. And sometimes I miss these very easy to see things because I'm complicating everything. And that's somebody in my life that, I very much get some great spiritual stuff from. And so,
Well, he
you know,
challenges your way of thinking. And I think that's
yeah,
important in your spiritual guru, that they don't just let you stay where you are, but they challenge you to think of things in a different way, or challenge you to think about why you believe things the way you do. Like, do you follow this belief path because that's what your parents had? Like, why do you really believe the things that you believe? Like, really sit down and think about those things and not just follow suit because everyone else is doing that.
yeah. And I think that that's the truth. And I think that the number one thing that I have to say about this, and then I want to hear what Marshall has to say about this. The number one thing I have to say is most of this is being open to listening to what a lot of the people that you respect or that are in your core group have to say about hard topics. And you have to have a medium level of respect for these people already for them to even come close to fitting into this category. If not, the advice that you get from people that want to give you advice on these topics is terrible. And it's just it can come from a very bad place. So you want people in this category that you respect um, at a very high level to start with. And then it's just about being really open to having heavy conversations with them and understanding that you may not agree with everything that they have to say, but those things that they'll say will completely put you in a spot to where you can some people say challenge you. I don't say challenge you. It unlocks the pressure valve. It's just like, oh, I don't have to be so concerned with this thing right now or this problem right now because my person that I respect isn't. And I know that sounds so simple, but that's all it has to be sometimes is this person who I think a lot of that I think has a lot of good things going for them and a lot figured out and that I just love, they're not concerned about it. Why am I? And that's the question that I think a lot of these spiritual folks really, your spiritual people in your life um, really sort of unlock for you. So, Marshall, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you, this one was one of the more interesting ones for me to dig into too, and I think it's for some of the same reasons you guys have talked about. And we've talked about the fact that several of these can shift throughout your life, right? That your escape artist might be a different group or a different person right now than it's going to be in 5 years. The spiritual guru has probably had more shift in my life than any of these other people on the themes team. And it's because of some of the stuff you guys are already talking about. It's about growing up with what, I felt like was one path and was one direction to go. And then as I get older, the vision kind of opens wider, right? And you start getting sprinklings of people from other backgrounds and thought processes that are way outside of yours and belief systems that are completely foreign to you but have such a solid base that make you go wow. That's and so I've seen this in my own personal life as something that is continuing to evolve, and now maybe the spiritual guru group for me is a whole giant collection of people. It's so weird. Like I think I would love to be able to lean on one person, but I've seen it as so many different people having a piece of this part of my team. And it's really, really funny, but also something that you guys kind of touched on that made me think too. So I see spirituality and like existentialism as kind of hand in hand. And I think about this is something I catch myself thinking about a lot from a personal standpoint is what is my place in this world? What's my mark? What's the, the I don't know, the legacy is kind of a weird word, but what's when I'm not here, what's going to be left? What's going to be remembered? And that's why I love our team and the mission of Serial Progress Seekers so much. And I found spirituality in our mission. And it's about being able to help others at all costs, do anything you can to lift others up, to build communities, to build businesses, to build entrepreneurs, to just continue to lift us all up at the end of the day. And I think there is a spiritual nature to to the backbone of Serial Progress Seeker. And I think that's just a really cool, it's to be honest with you, it's just cool to work somewhere that has that gives you that feeling, and to be a part of a team that gives you that fulfillment, because that's something I think a lot of people are going to spend the majority of their life chasing. And here I am, 40 years old, and I feel like I've found a really good part of it. So, I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way from that standpoint. But it's just funny, I think about spiritual guru, and somehow my professional life, my own personal success, I feel successful because there's a piece of, I'm maybe I'm making a little bit of a mark, and it makes you feel good. So it's really cool.
No, I'm with you. I think that end of the day, it's really about. I don't want to call what we do a religion, but this is definitely my philosophy in life. This serial progress seeker thing, and part of what makes what we do so important to me is the people that work here don't agree on everything. That's really important to me. There's a lot of ideas from different folks. If we were strictly a liberal organization, I think it would be it'd be if we were strictly a conservative organization made up of folks that thought that way, it would be it's this nice weird sort of conflict in ideas from a political standpoint that works. Okay, well, that's one side. Religion, I am very aware that we are all over the map from a religious standpoint, in terms of those things can be overcome because we respect each other. But what really puts us into that mode of serial progress seeker is that there is this collection of ideas and coming from different places, and we can still aim in the same direction. And I think that's it. It's, what we have really tried to do here is, I think, sort of, really this part of our lives that we're trying to put in is serial progress seeker for me. I mean, it really is. Like, a lot of the people that I interact with that have different ideas than me came because of serial progress seeker. This vehicle gives us the opportunity to interact with people that really spiritually put me into a different place because they're thinking about the world differently. I have a very tough time understanding anybody that is still in love with the religion or the political party or the school of thought that they had when they were growing up. I have a tough time with that. That's someone that doesn't evolve. Now, that doesn't mean you don't hold on to pieces of those things. You're supposed to do that. That's what it's all about. But it's about, how are you continuing to try to move forward? And, I think that, yeah,
Think for
for
yourself.
me,
Yeah.
that's think for yourself. That's what it's about. And so, very much, a lot of the things that spiritually, my group come because of this. And yes, it's scary that there is some of that wrapped up into it because it's a business, but it absolutely is. And, I think that we do a really good job of riding that line. And, sometimes it gets a little raw, but that's part of it. The legacy that I think we're leaving behind here is that we were not afraid to have some of those conversations. And I think that's why, yes, I absolutely classified my serial progress seeker family as a part of sort of that spiritual part for me. So to recap, I think we should go through what we actually just covered, and like this themes concept of, where your friends are. What is that? So Marshall, I'll let you kind of take us through what it was again that we just covered, and then we'll get to the closing thought on this.
Yeah, in general, really good. It feels like a healthy conversation, because just like you said at the very beginning, we're at this point in our profession and in our lives where we've established these people in our lives, and it has brought us success. And because of that, we want to share it with others. And that's the whole reason we've identified this themes team. And that's why we wanted to bring it to everyone today. But again, the themes is obviously an acronym, but these are very specific people in your life that fit this mold. So for T, it's that person that's tough love. So number one, tough love is T. Number two is H is health nut, that person that fits into that mold. That's your healthy person that you lean on. The first E was educator, that the person that teaches you something at every single turn. The M was that money whiz. You focus on, finances. Finances have got to be a part of the whole shebang. The second E was your escape artist, the people that you can get away with, you can actually unplug with when you need to. And then S, where we wrapped it up just now, was the spiritual guru, that person or that collection of people that kind of challenge you on a deeper level. And I think what an awesome conversation. I feel like we probably could have just kept going and going with each one of those. But I do hope that people listening to this really get something out of it, because I agree that it's like we've identified this thing, and now we're like, man, this is something that me personally, I lean on this. I lean on these people, and it feels good. Number one, to be able to depend on people, your themes team, but it feels really, really good when you start to think about the fact that you could potentially be that for someone else. It really, really makes you feel good. And having and assigning those labels to those people around you is going to strengthen your relationships, your family ties, your coworkers, whoever those people are that are on your team. It's just going to add strength and ultimately bring you success at the end of the day.
Yeah. So call to action. What do you do with this? Take a look at your existing friend group, your existing folks that maybe you wouldn't consider a friend, but they're definitely people that are, in your orbit right now. Where do they fit? And when you start to understand where they fit, you can communicate with them better. So the first thing is really starting to acknowledge where these people in your life fit into this themes system. After that, if you find a hole, really take a lot of your attention the next week, the next month, the next year into filling in that gap. And what will happen if you do those two things is you will start to understand that things are just getting better. It will be subtle at first, but then all of a sudden you'll just start to feel like I'm happier. I've got more money in my pocket. I've able to do more of what I want to do in my free time. And, harking back to our episode about boundaries that you all should definitely go listen to, and, kind of having more confidence, it really puts you in a position to where when you have more of a complete group that fits into this themes group, you tolerate less that doesn't fit into it, which is extremely important. So I appreciate you guys going through this with me today. I think this is, like I said, this really categorizing this. It can be dangerous to put people in categories, I know, but really categorizing this way is something that has really made me think on this whole concept of friendships and people in my orbit in a different way. And so anybody that's listening, I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I hope that you subscribe to the podcast, because we're going to have lots more stuff like this. And also, do me a favor, go to Serial Progress Seeker and reach out and let us know what you think. And, how did this affect you? Also, something we really, really like is when you jump over to the podcast, wherever you happen to listen, and leave us a written review. Just something specific about a certain episode that you liked. That really is huge for us, and we appreciate it. So we got more good stuff coming. Thanks for listening, and we will have more good stuff coming next time. We'll see you then.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Serial Progress Seeker podcast. If you want to listen to more episodes, learn more about our mission, or send us questions or feedback about the show, go to serialprogressseeker.com. You can help the mission by subscribing, reviewing, rating, and commenting wherever you listen to or watch podcasts. And be sure to connect with us on social media for all the latest through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We'll catch you next time, Serial Progress Seekers.